Chapter 1. The First Cosmic Flood. Initiation of the tender kind. First contact with human emotion. There are rooms we remember, not by their walls, but by the way our bodies braced inside of them. This is the story of one such room and the child who felt too much inside it. And others call it madness, but I call it the pain of too much tenderness. Khalil Gibran. I was 5 years old when I first knew something was off in the frequency. Not like wrong, like danger, not wrong like disobedience, but wrong like this doesn't feel like my home planet. The room was full of family, laughter, jokes, the familiar orbit of conversation. But beneath it all, I could feel something else. Tension, disconnection, unspoken sadness wrapped in polite smiles. No one was fighting, but my body was reacting like there was a silent storm. Not because of what was said, but because of everything that wasn't. A pressure rose in my chest like static. It buzzed into my belly, limbs, and throat. My muscles braced, invisible walls forming from within. And still, the frequency kept humming. It didn't belong to me, but it was in me. So I cried. Not for attention, not for drama, but because there was nowhere else for that signal to go. Signal received. I slipped away to my bedroom, a tiny spaceship where I could recalibrate. I needed quiet, I needed space. I needed a room that wasn't crackling with coded emotion. But the energy followed. It pulsed through my little frame like a download too big for my small body. The tears turned to tremors. I was purging. Not emotionally, but energetically. My first broadcast as a tiny human antenna. Then the door opened. My mother stood in the frame, brows furrowed. "What is wrong with you?" she asked stern. "Why are you crying?" "I don't know," I whispered. She sighed. "Well, you need to stop being such a crybaby, or nobody is going to like you." And that was it. The moment I stopped trusting my signal. Not because she meant to harm me. She was likely passing on the same broadcast she once received. But something sacred inside me got labeled as malfunction. Not just my feelings, but the way I felt. The depth, the knowing without knowing, the trembling wisdom of a starlight soul in human skin. It wasn't just empathy, it was attunement to the unseen. A tuning fork for frequencies beneath the floorboards of reality. The kind of sensitivity, if left intact, it becomes prophecy, becomes poetry, becomes healing. But Earth School didn't teach me that. So I began to believe I was too much, too dramatic, too strange, too other. The tiny leaks that teach us to numb. This is how the numbing begins. Not always through capital T trauma, but through tiny moments, pixels really. When we're told to override the signal, to doubt what we feel, to apologize for our knowing. Sensitivity is often programmed out of us not through cruelty but dismissal. Through eye rolls, through "you're too sensitive," through "that's just your imagination," through the gradual erasure of the inner oracle in the name of growing up. But the body remembers, even decades later. Some part of us still aches with the memory that we were right, that we did feel something real, that we weren't broken. We were just unarmored in a world that forgot how to feel. For the ones who know. I share this not to reopen the wound, but to trace the transmission line, to find the moment it was cut and plug it back into source. Because for many of us, the shame didn't begin with being wrong. It began with being right, too soon, in rooms that couldn't receive the signal. That moment didn't stay in that room. It followed me into friendships, into leadership, into ceremony, into communities that wore light like costume, but couldn't bear the radiance of feeling. It shaped the way I became. And this book, it's my way of returning to the star child who knew, to the codes that were silenced, to the tenderness that was never too much. But if you're still reading, maybe you felt it too. Maybe you've sat in a room and heard the ghost of a truth no one named. Maybe you've shaken in silence, not because you're fragile, but because you were holding a signal too big for the moment. Maybe you've wondered if you were broken. You're not. You're the proof that magic still breathes beneath the mundane. Your heart was never a flaw, it's a frequency. Practice. Reattuning the signal. Place one hand on your belly, one on your chest. Breathe deep and slow. Say gently, I trust my signal. I feel with clarity. It is safe to sense again. Let it echo through your nervous system, not as a performance, but as a quiet reclamation. Remember this. This is the beginning of you remembering. You're welcome back. Your soft revolution. You are not too much. You are not broken. You are not behind. You were born sensitive in a world that forgot how to feel, but you didn't forget. You just needed a reminder, and this is it. Strap in, traveler. The galaxy awaits.